Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 429, at Olden Pond. The episode begins with Ash and the gang still on their way to Ash's next Battle Frontier facility, the Battle Dome, since May had just completed her latest contest, the Silver Town contest. She was very grateful to have won, and was admiring her new silver ribbon that she won from the contest inside her ribbon case, while holding and admiring her new Pokemon egg, which was safely encased in the little container incubator that it was kept in. May was so excited to have this new Pokemon egg, and was so excited to have won her most recent ribbon, that she was hugging the egg and rubbing the ribbon case against her face, and was talking about how cute both the egg and the ribbon were, which made Max look away, embarrassed by his sister's over-affectionate actions towards both her egg and her ribbon. And he also thought that May had way too much fucking energy. As for Brock, he was currently cooking Ash and the gang some lunch, because they had stopped in the middle of a forest area on their way to the Battle Dome. And Ash was taking this break as not really a break, but an opportunity to train for his upcoming Frontier Battle Facility battles, using Pikachu. He knew that him and Pikachu's training could get a little out of hand sometimes, so he stood decently far away from the rest of the gang, and had Pikachu try out a variety of his attacks, such as Thunderbolt, Iron Tail, Quick Attack, but eventually he got to Pikachu's newest move, Volt Tackle, and told Pikachu to run as fast as it could. Pikachu obliged, speeding along a forest pathway very fast, and eventually it caused the Volt Tackle to arise, with Pikachu being surrounded by pure electric energy. But just as the attack was about to reach its maximum potential, the energy from the attack started to fade away, and Pikachu stopped in its tracks, confused at how the attack had failed. Seeing that Pikachu was confused, Ash ran over to Pikachu to comfort it, saying that they still hadn't been able to perfect the attack yet, though told Pikachu that everything was alright. May could see that Ash was discouraged deep down though, so May simply told Ash to relax and maybe actually fucking take a break, as opposed to just training constantly. Max and Brock then walk over to Ash and May as well, as Max pulled out his Pokénav to see exactly how far away they were from the Battle Dome. However, Max saw more than the Battle Dome. He saw a nearby lake called Dragonair's Lake. Max was intrigued to go there, wanting to see a Dragonair, and he was also intrigued, learning that the lake was apparently nearby and a famous fishing spot. Ash wanted to go as well, so since Ash and Max both suggested that they go and check it out, they did. After a little bit of walking, they eventually came across the Dragonair Lake. However, when Ash and the gang actually arrived at the lake, they were very, very surprised, because when they thought of Dragonair Lake, they thought of the lake as beautiful as a Dragonair, but the lake was definitely not what they imagined. It wasn't beautiful at all. It was instead ruined and dirty and abandoned. There wasn't even anyone else there. There was complete silence. Ash and the gang were not impressed by this, obviously, and Max commented that just looking at this abandoned lake gave him a creepy feeling. Ash, Brock, and May agreed, and decided to investigate a little more to see if the lake really was as bad as it appeared. As they walked, it appeared that someone or something was watching them from underneath the water of the lake, and once they had disappeared from the current spot that they were at, a shadow emerged from the depths of the lake, keeping an eye on Ash and the gang. This was the same thing that had been watching them. I wonder what it is. Eventually, Ash and the gang were surprised to come across a rundown boathouse that was basically just in as bad a shape as the rest of the lake. Ash decided to see if the boathouse was as deserted as the rest of the lake as well, as he shouted out a greeting, saying hello to anyone who might have been in the boathouse, and May did the same, but they received no greeting in response, so they came to the conclusion that the boathouse and surrounding area were totally empty as well. Seeing that nobody was around, Ash and the gang decided to simply just relax, like they were originally going to do, even though the place wasn't nearly as good as of a relaxing spot as they once thought. Ash, being Ash, didn't want to just relax and do nothing for that long though, so he wondered if there was anything they could do while still kind of relaxing. So Max decided to search inside the boathouse, which was open, which was how they confirmed that there was no one inside, and he managed to find some fishing rods and other fishing equipment. So Ash and Brock decided to utilize them to pass the time as they started to fish into the nearby lake. Ash, immediately after putting the rod's pink hook into the water, started to get impatient. Although Brock commented that you had to be relaxed if you wanted to actually catch a fish, and said that it was good to take a break and relax from all the traveling and battles for a while. May eventually decides to fish as well, and Brock comments that fishing, although relaxing and related to relaxing, it could also be good training in and of itself, since if you caught a water Pokemon, you could come closer to water Pokemon. Hearing this, Ash got motivated to continue fishing, even though he was kind of bored at this point, knowing that training was very important if he wanted to succeed in the Battle Frontier. After a long time of fishing though, and no bites, Ash got bored once again and started to close his eyes, eventually falling asleep. Max laughs upon seeing this, and comments that Ash was relaxing a bit too much, as Brock and May, who were also enjoying fishing, looked at their friend, very pissed off at Ash for not taking fishing seriously. Ash could basically sense his friend's disapproval, and woke up, laughing, embarrassed that he wasn't able to stay awake. Before Ash could try and justify himself falling asleep though, he suddenly got a bite on his fishing rod, and it was huge, since Ash was struggling to reel it in. May encouraged Ash to try his absolute best, commenting that it must have been a great catch, so he better catch it. So Ash pulled even harder, but continued to struggle to reel it in. This led May, Max, and Brock to help Ash pull the rod, seeing how heavy his catch was, and Pikachu even helps as well, as the four of them all grab onto Ash and pull him backwards. At first, even when everyone was pulling, it didn't seem to be doing jack shit, because the catch was just that heavy, but suddenly, Ash and the gang used all their might. A Crawdont, which had grabbed on to the fishing line, being what Ash had caught, came straight out of the water, pulling Ash and the gang backwards as they fell onto the fishing deck. When Ash and the gang got up on their feet, though, they saw that this Crawdon was not only bigger than the average one, but also angry, as it was snapping its claws at them. Regardless, May checked her Pokédex on it to learn more information. And the Pokédex informed her that Crawdon was the evolved form of Corphish, which Max also confirmed from his own knowledge. Ash then got an idea, deciding to send out his Corphish. Since Corphish was the pre-evolution to Crawdon, Ash thought that even though Corphish would be the weaker counterpart, he figured that maybe Corphish could prove the Crawdon wrong and actually beat it and get some really nice training in from beating its evolved self. Crawdon was more than up for a battle, so it jumped towards Corphish using a Vice Grip attack, although Ash told Corphish to do the same. So, Corphish and Crawdon's attacks collided, but the sheer power of Crawdon's attack proved too much for Corphish, and it was sent flying back, but not knocked out. Ash was amazed at Crawdon's power, as Crawdon decided to try and take Corphish out by using a Crab Hammer, leaving Ash to tell Corphish to do the same attack, but just like before, the Crawdon easily overpowered Corphish, and Corphish got hit hard from the Crab Hammer. Crawdon was not satisfied with Corphish being nearly damaged, and wanted to take out the bitch, so Crawdon then used a Bubble Beam, and once again, Ash told Corphish to use the same attack, and just like the last two times, Crawdon's Bubble Beam was way too strong, and Corphish was overpowered and sent flying back. Ash could see that Corphish was pretty hurt from the beating it was taking, but he and Pikachu went up to it, and asked if it was relatively okay, although Ash was then cut off by Brock shouting. And when Ash looked at Brock to see what he was shouting at, he saw that Brock was shouting at Crawdon, who had grabbed on to all the fishing rods, including Ash's, which he has dropped on the ground, and used its claws to snap the fishing rods in half. Just then, a woman's loud voice could be heard, calling out to Crawdon, demanding it to stop breaking the fishing poles. Crawdon looked over to see none other than Tiffany, the character of the day of this episode. Whoever this Tiffany woman was, the Crawdon clearly didn't like her at all, as it immediately jumped back into the lake, not wanting to be around her. So, technically, Tiffany's goal of getting Crawdon to stop had worked. Tiffany then goes up to Ash and the gang, and asks if they were alright, and May said that they were, but before she could elaborate and ask who the fuck Tiffany even was, Brock jumped in to do his usual flirting, asking the name of Tiffany, and Tiffany confirms her name. Brock was so in love that he tried to flirt some more, asking if the two of them could go on a date, but obviously, Max dragged him away by the ear, pissed off at Brock's constant flirting. And Max got even more pissed off, seeing that Brock continued to try and flirt with Tiffany, calling her beautiful, even while he was being dragged away. Anyways, Ash and May apologized for any trouble that they'd caused by unleashing the Crawdon and causing it to break the fishing poles, assuming that they must have been Tiffany's, because Tiffany probably owned the little boathouse, because she was the only other person in the area. Although, Tiffany clarified that she didn't really give a fuck about the fishing rods anyway, and she was just glad to see some people actually coming in the area, because it got very lonely. Also, she was used to the Crawdon causing trouble by now. Tiffany then reveals that she's been around this lake for a long time, and Ash asks her why the lake looks so dirty and just fucking not at all how he pictured it, and overall just kind of abandoned. And Tiffany admitted that she knew exactly what Ash was talking about, and goes on to explain that not that long ago, the lake used to be as beautiful as anyone would expect, full of people and Pokemon constantly visiting. And going onto the balcony on the boathouse, she showed Ash and the gang the currently really dirty water at the lake from a faraway view, and admitted that the lake was indeed a popular fishing spot, or it at least used to be. An old, stern businessman named Mr. Siridakis of Siridakis Industries, along with a whole bunch of his lackeys from his company, came to the lake, taking interest in it, hearing it was a prime fishing spot, as they confirmed this looking at the many Pokemon in the lake, such as a Poliwag, Goldeen, Magikarp, Marill, Azumarill, Wooper, Quagsire, Remoraid, Surskit, and Barboach. Siridakis Industries wasn't interested in just buying the lake so they could have full fishing rights, but they were interested in buying the lake so that they could convert it into a luxury spa resort. Obviously, Mr. Siridakis had to ask Tiffany, since Tiffany owned the boathouse, the main building of the lake, and of course, Tiffany refused. Mr. Siridakis and his men in black suits did end up leaving, and everything was peaceful for a while, so Tiffany could just enjoy her time at the lake. But soon after Mr. Siridakis had left, Tiffany noticed some distressing things about the Pokemon in the lake. The strange thing was that some of the Pokemon looked like they were in distress. They were actually being attacked, along with boats full of fishermen who were visiting the lake, and they were all getting thrown over their boats by the same Crawdon that had appeared before, that had just suddenly appeared in the lake from seemingly out of nowhere. And as we see a flashback of all of this, Tiffany explains that it was from the moment Crawdon attacked that the lake, which she always loved, got worse and worse and came to the dirty state that it was in today, being dirty because of Crawdon's attacks and the turmoil that had been unleashed, along with the fact that a lot of the fishermen weren't keeping the ecosystem balanced and they weren't helping clean the lake and stuff because all the fishermen had left since they were so scared, and all the Pokemon in the lake, aside from Crawdon, had left as well, so basically the ecosystem in the lake was in disarray, so that caused all the dirtiness. Although Tiffany liked to have hope that one day, if the Crawdon ended up leaving the lake, then maybe all the fishermen and Pokemon would return. Hearing this, Ash was moved emotionally and declared that he would do his best to help fight Crawdon and get it out of the lake, especially since Corphish wanted a rematch against Crawdon after the beating it had taken, and Corphish snapped its claws in agreement, with Max commenting on how eager Corphish was for a rematch, saying that it was cool regarding all the traits that Pokemon exhibited that were human-like, because, humans would be determined to defeat their rivals, just like certain Pokemon were. So, Ash and the gang officially declared that they were going to stop Crawdon, with Ash using Corphish to do so. Just then, though, an old woman popped up behind Ash and Max, causing both of them to jump back in shock as Ash asked who she was, leaving Tiffany to explain that the old woman was her grandmother, Gallia. Gallia didn't even introduce herself, and instead directed her attention directly to Corfish, stating her belief that there was no way Corfish would be able to defeat Crawdon. But then, Gallia saw Ash and Gang's confidence and noted that there could be a possibility that they could succeed. So, with that, Ash, May, Max, and Brock go to search for Crawdon, along with Tiffany, and they decided to split up a little bit to cover more ground across the lake. Basically, Brock, Pikachu, and Tiffany had decided to go inside a boat on the lake, while Ash, May, and Max decided to stay on land. The boat then set off across the lake, along with Brock's Marshtomp, who he sent out into the water to go along with them too. Because Brock came to the conclusion that Corfish could probably use more help from other water types. Ash then sent Corfish, who was bitter about the loss of Crawdon, into the water to go another direction, while Ash actually retrieved Pikachu from the boat, so the two of them could go searching together, and they went one way across the land to look at the lake from that direction, while May, Max, and May's Squirtle, who she sent out, went in the opposite direction to Ash. Ash didn't seem to find anything, and nor did Corfish. As for May and Max, they didn't have any luck either, so they all wondered where the fuck Crawdon could have gotten to. May then asked Squirtle if it had seen anything, since she had sent Squirtle to actually go patrol kind of close to Corfish in a part of the water, but Squirtle, much to May's embarrassment, wasn't even looking for jack shit, as he was just staring at a flower by the lakeside, enamored by it, leading May and Max to sigh in annoyance, admitting that they should have expected something like this from Squirtle. Anyways, back with Brock, Tiffany, in the boat, going alongside Marshtomp, they were speeding along the lake when Tiffany stopped the boat, spotting Crawdon going into a little alcove which had bushes on the other side. In response to this, Brock calls over his Marshtomp and tells it to go get Ash, May, and Max and alert them to the situation so they could potentially do something about the Crawdon as well. And Marshtomp does so as Brock and Tiffany continue to watch the Crawdon swim through the alcove to some bushes. And eventually, after going through the bushes, Crawdon arrives on land and immediately greets none other than Mr. Saridakis. Mr. Saridakis instantly welcomes Crawdon and tells it to eat up, showing Crawdon all the delicious Pokemon food it had prepared for it. Basically, as reward for Crawdon doing a whole bunch of bad shit in the lake, Mr. Saridakis had food as a reward for it. Just then, Marshtomp had warned Ash, May, Pikachu, and Max and Squirtle about the Crawdon, so they managed to meet up with Brock and Tiffany, and all of them managed to get on land, and they hid in some bushes watching Mr. Saridakis feed Crawdon the Pokemon food, with Ash being the one to first realize that the Crawdon was not a wild Pokemon, but in fact, its trainer was Mr. Saridakis. Of course, he didn't even know that Mr. Saridakis was Mr. Saridakis. He thought he was just some random dude, but of course, Tiffany recognized Mr. Saridakis and confirmed his identity. Just then, Mr. Saridakis' 3 employees that Tiffany also recognized came up to him and informed him of some people who were watching Mr. Saridakis. And they point these people out to Mr. Saridakis, and these people actually weren't Ash and Gang. Their cover hadn't been blown yet. These 3 people were actually Jesse, James, and Meowth. Well, Meowth was a Pokemon, but you know what I mean. And Team Rocket immediately went up to Mr. Saridakis and his employees, claiming that they were land developers, architects, if you will. It turns out that they had overheard Tiffany talking about Mr. Saridakis wanting to turn the lake into a spa, and they offered Mr. Saridakis the opportunity to turn the lake into a spa, since, they were architects and they could build it for him. Although, before they would build, they claimed that they wanted something to eat first. So, Mr. Saridakis ordered his employees to go get some food for Team Rocket. Team Rocket got excited at this, and all introduced themselves to Mr. Saridakis, talking about some bullshit related to fixing up the lake and all that, and making Mr. Saridakis' vision come true. So, Mr. Saridakis orders Team Rocket to first demolish the boathouse as their top order of business. Jesse, James, and Meowth obliged. Happy that their plan was working, they would just agree to work for Mr. Saridakis, and hopefully he would just keep giving them food, even if they didn't actually do much work at all, because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing when it came to building shit, obviously. Just then, though, upon hearing Mr. Saridakis mention demolishing the boathouse, Tiffany, living in the boathouse, told Mr. Saridakis, as she popped out of the bushes, that he would not be demolishing the boathouse, no matter what, and Ash and the gang popped out and said the same thing to Mr. Saridakis. As for Team Rocket, they were shocked to see Ash and the gang, but James just smiled and declared that they could get more than just food out of today. They could also steal Pikachu. Meowth agreed, and then suggested that they could potentially use Mr. Saridakis' Crawdon to help them get Pikachu. Anyways, back to the real issue at hand. Tiffany shouted at Mr. Saridakis, accusing him of deliberately using Crawdon to destroy the lake's reputation and make everyone leave so that he could buy the lake for cheap and really without anyone objecting to his plans to turn the place into a spa. Basically, Saridakis thought that Tiffany couldn't do anything on her own if no one else was against the place being reformed into a spa. Although Mr. Saridakis just brushes off all of Tiffany's accusations, saying that he just was playing with his Crawdon and was offering it food. He had no ill intention, or he didn't send the Crawdon to do any of that shit. This led Ash to step up, knowing that Mr. Saridakis was lying, and he officially challenges Mr. Saridakis and his Crawdon to a battle, utilizing his own Corfish. Saridakis agreed, and Ash and Saridakis also agreed on some terms. If Saridakis won, he would get to keep the lake and the boathouse free of charge, but If Ash won, then Saridakis would abandon his spa plans and leave forever. Tiffany got a bit mad at Ash for agreeing to these terms, fearing that Ash would lose, but it was too late for Ash to back out now, since Mr. Saridakis officially declared that the battle would be tomorrow. Saridakis then revealed his reasons for wanting the lake in the first place, saying that with his spa plan, he would actually make the lake less dirty again. Tiffany, knowing how much of a rude guy Mr. Saridakis was, knew that there had to be a secondary reason, and Mr. Saridakis revealed the true backstory, his true backstory, of why he wanted the lake. And we then see a great flashback of this. When Mr. Saridakis was just a young boy fishing in the lake at a boat one day, for some unknown reason, he got dragged into the lake all the way to the bottom. And to make matters worse, he got tangled up in his fishing rod's fishing line, which made him unable to escape the water. So he had literally fucking passed out and was about to die from drowning. But just then, right before he died, a mysterious shadow emerged from the depths of the lake. Maybe this was the mysterious thing watching Ash in the game earlier, not Crawdaunt. Mr. Saridakis didn't get to see this shadow, though, because the next thing he knew, he was alive and conscious on the lake's bank, and completely okay. And he remembered just laughing and walking off, wondering how the fuck he was saved, but he didn't question it that much, since he was just glad to be saved. Although, deep down, he did find it weird that he was saved, but no one was around. The flashback then ends with Mr. Saridakis declaring that this whole event related to his reasoning for wanting the lake, saying that he really wanted to make a spa so that the place could become nice and he wouldn't be at risk of drowning anymore, since the spa was more safe. And also, him building a spa would be a nice cash boost for him, so he could improve his Saridakis company, since, everybody loves spas. Saridakis then evil laughs, declaring that the lake would be his as he walks off. Ash looked at the back of Saridakis angrily, indicating that he wanted to battle Saridakis right now, although Tiffany told Ash that it was pretty good that Ash was battling right now, since it would give Ash time to prepare for the battle. Ash agreed, and with that, Ash officially decided to train with his Corphish and Pikachu, because he wanted to use Corphish in the battle, but he figured that using Pikachu would be good practice for Corphish, since Corphish would be weak against Pikachu. Also, they were at the boathouse to train, by the way. As the practice match between Pikachu and Corphish began, Tiffany's grandmother, Gallia, was watching as Ash had Pikachu charged with a Volt Tackle, and he had Corphish use a Crab Hammer, and the two attacks connected, and they both bounced off of each other, basically, because both of the attacks were pretty much equally strong, and both Corphish and Pikachu were sent back. And immediately, Corphish started charging up a second Crab Hammer, while Pikachu charged up a second Volt Tackle, and they went towards each other, leaving Maymax and Brock impressed with both Pikachu and Corphish's resilience. However, Gallia wasn't that impressed, and stated that there was no way Ash would win against Saridakis with his current tactics and skills, and called out her Vaporeon, telling it to demonstrate a better way for Ash to battle. Ash was shocked that Gallia even had a Pokemon, while May scanned Vaporeon on her Pokedex. Gallia then stated that the best way for her to demonstrate a better way for Ash to battle would be to challenge Ash to a battle, and Ash agreed, so they got into formal battle position, each going on one side of a makeshift field beside the boathouse, with Brock standing in the middle, acting as referee as the battle started, with Corphish being the one to battle against Vaporeon, since Corphish would be the one battling Crawdaunt. Ash started off by having Corphish use Crab Hammer, but Gallia simply has her Vaporeon jump into the water nearby in the lake to dodge the attack, leading Gallia to brag that her Vaporeon was able to dodge, since it was much faster than Corphish's slow Crab Hammer. Corphish immediately went inside the lake as well to chase after Vaporeon, and it went in to go use another Crab Hammer attack. But much to Ash and the gang, Corphish, and Tiffany's shock, Gallia had her Vaporeon use Acid Armor to basically make it blend in to the lake water, essentially making it invisible, although it was somewhere on the lake surface, as a ripple in the water could be seen. Corphish looked around for where Vaporeon could be, because this ripple was going absolutely everywhere, so Corphish couldn't keep track. But seeing as to how Corphish was distracted, looking for Vaporeon, Gallia uses to her advantage, telling Vaporeon to use Quick Attack, and Vaporeon did so as it emerged from the lake and smashes into Corphish, sending it flying into a patch of the lake's weeds. Corphish was also immensely damaged as well. Corphish tried to stand up, but it was too engulfed in the weeds, and it basically couldn't move at all, because the weeds were essentially weighing it down. Gallia and her Vaporeon saw their chance to attack, as Vaporeon used a Hydro Pump on the Corphish that was unable to move, leaving Ash and the gang and Tiffany immensely shocked as they saw the true extent of Gallia and Vaporeon's power, as the Hydro Pump was able to send Corphish smashing into some nearby rocks, therefore knocking it out and defeating it, meaning that Gallia and her Vaporeon had won the battle. Ash was embarrassed by his loss, but Gallia gave him some advice, admitting that Corphish was powerful, but Crawdaunt was much more powerful, so if Ash wanted a chance against Crawdaunt, then he would have to use something more than power. Specifically, he would need to adapt to the battlefield and the situation he was in by using the battlefield and the surroundings to their advantage. Ash was a bit concerned if he would be able to follow this advice properly, but Brock assured Ash that if he and Corphish trained, they would do just fine. So Ash asked Corphish if it was ready to train, and Corphish agreed, nodding in agreement. Soon after the training was completed, Ash asked Corphish if it was ready for perhaps its most important battle ever, which would decide the future of Dragonair Lake, and Corphish nodded in agreement once again as Mr. Saridakis arrived the next day, the day where the match was finally supposed to take place. And without further ado, Mr. Saridakis sent out his Crawdaunt, and after Crawdaunt and Corphish stared at each other, trying to intimidate each other, Ash had Corphish start off the battle by using a Crab Hammer, and Crawdaunt was told to do the same. So both Corphish and Crawdaunt leaped towards each other, and Their attacks connect as they smash into each other, and they both try to use Crab Hammer more effectively than the other, trying to get the advantage. Thankfully, due to Corfish's off-screen training, which Max mentioned, as opposed to Corfish being overpowered, Corfish and Crawdon's Crab Hammers were actually evenly matched. And seeing this, how Corfish was basically at full health still, Ash told Corfish to use a Bubble Beam, but once again, Mr. Saridakis tells Crawdon to launch a Bubble Beam too. Corfish concentrates as best it can to keep its Bubble Beam stronger than Crawdon's, but just like last time, or in the last battle rather, Crawdon overpowered Corfish. And Ash didn't want Corfish to get hurt, so he told Corfish to take the battle to the lake, and Corfish jumped out of the way before the Bubble Beam could fully make contact on it, going inside the lake to dodge. Mr. Saridakis wasn't fazed by this dodge whatsoever, and simply told Crawdon to aim a Vice Grip at Corfish, and to evade this, Corfish quickly dove underneath the water, therefore evading Crawdon as it jumped in the water. Crawdon tried to look for Corfish, but Ash had used the surroundings to his advantage, just as Gallia had suggested, and he had Corfish suddenly emerge from under the water to jump scare Crawdon and smash Crawdon with a Crab Hammer, which pissed Mr. Saridakis off as he quickly ordered Crawdon to use a Vice Grip. Brock, Tiffany, May, Max, and especially Gallia were impressed with Ash's strategy so far, but they were even more impressed as Ash quickly had Corfish use Harden to block Crawdon's Vice Grip. Next, Ash told Corfish to hit with a very hard Crab Hammer, and Corfish certainly hit Crawdon hard, as Crawdon didn't expect Corfish to protect itself with Harden initially, and Crawdon was sent flying into a nearby rock from the force of the Crab Hammer. Brock, Max, Gallia, Tiffany, and May, who was holding Pikachu, were very impressed with Corfish's strength, as Mr. Saridakis ordered Crawdon to get back up, and it just barely was able to, although it could barely move. Just then, though, Crawdon was grabbed by a large blue mechanical hand, and it was dragged up into the air, causing Mr. Saridakis, Ash and the gang, Tiffany, and Gallia to look up, wondering what was going on, until they saw a huge green mech with a large red R on it, signifying that Team Rocket had just taken Crawdon and were inside that mech. And this was confirmed as Team Rocket then laugh from inside their mech as the mech comes closer and closer to Ash and gang, Tiffany, Gallia, and Saridakis. Tiffany, not knowing who the fuck Team Rocket was, asked what they wanted, leading Team Rocket to begin their motto from inside the mech, and they come out of the mech on top of it as they finish it, and Mime Jr. joins in on the motto. Along with Lava Fett, obviously. Mr. Saridakis then screams at Team Rocket, realizing that they were the so-called architects, since Team Rocket had thrown off their disguises while doing their motto as well, so he knew their true identities. James simply laughed and confirmed that they tricked Mr. Saridakis and they weren't actually architects, before Team Rocket then sends out another large blue mechanical hand, stealing Pikachu. Team Rocket was pleased, as they had gotten what they came for, Crawdon and Pikachu, admitting that the Crawdon capture was a last-minute idea, and they fly away using special turbo boosters on their mech. Ash screams at Team Rocket to come back, but Tiffany said it was useless, and actually, she had already gotten into her boat and told everyone else to come along, so they could chase after Team Rocket. And Ash and the gang and Gallia go in the boat, although Mr. Saridakis, not wanting to join Ash and the gang, decides to follow Team Rocket in a speedboat of his own that he already owned. Also, Marshtomp, Corfish, and Squirtle were following along beside Ash and the gang, Tiffany, and Gallia's boat. Ash got worried that Team Rocket may get away because they were going far into the distance. So Ash decided to have the water Pokemon all attack, and May and Brock agreed, telling Corfish to use Bubble Beam on the mech. May told Squirtle to use Bubble on the mech, and Brock told Marshtomp to use Mudshot on the mech. While Brock, May, and Ash all declared that they would do everything in their power to get Pikachu and Crawdon back, with even Mr. Saridakis wanting to get Crawdon back as well because he did like his Crawdon. However, Squirtle, Corfish, and Marshtomp's attack missed as Meowth laughed, using a remote control inside the mech to spin the mech from side to side to dodge all the attacks, as Jessie laughed and taunted Ash and the gang, Tiffany, Saridakis, and Gallia, saying that they could never stop Team Rocket, and Team Rocket simply just increased their speed, getting farther in the distance, making Ash and the gang extremely worried, along with Saridakis, Tiffany, and Gallia, thinking they may actually never be able to catch up. And just then, though, Squirtle got an idea, and he quickly swam up to Corfish to tell it the idea, and Corfish nodded, indicating it liked the idea, so Squirtle put its idea into action, which involved Corfish, because Squirtle climbed on top of Corfish's back. And much to Ash and the gang, Tiffany, Gallia, and Saridakis' shock, Corfish launches Squirtle up into the air, pushing all its weight on Squirtle to push it up. And immediately, upon being launched into the air, Squirtle withdraws into its shell and starts rotating at high speeds, colliding into Team Rocket's mech, surprising Ash and the gang, as Brock and Max noted that Squirtle had just used and learned a new attack, Rapid Spin. Ash and the gang, Tiffany, and Gallia, and Saridakis were officially impressed the most by Squirtle having learned Rapid Spin unprompted and just out of nowhere. Unfortunately, though, even with Squirtle's new attack, it only caused the mech to slow down a little bit, but not stop at all, and Squirtle falls back down to the lake. But before Squirtle can actually fall into the lake, Brock takes after action, knowing that Squirtle could get injured if it fell from such a high height, and he tells his Marshtomp to use a water gun, which keeps Squirtle lifted up, basically acting as a geyser, and Squirtle was like riding this geyser. Seeing this geyser thing, Ash gets an idea, and he tells May to have Squirtle use Rapid Spin. May obliges, and Squirtle begins to use Rapid Spin again, but it wasn't getting nearly enough height. So this is where Ash's idea came in, as he told Corfish to use a Bubble Beam. which pushed Squirtle higher up into the air, still using Rapid Spin. And the power of the Bubble Beam enforced Rapid Spin, since the force of the Bubble Beam was making the Rapid Spin more powerful, was smashed into Team Rocket's mech once again, which actually heavily damaged Team Rocket's mech, causing it to fall out of the sky towards the lake, since the engine was destroyed. The engine malfunctioning also happened to make the arms release Pikachu and Crawdon. And everything seemed good as Pikachu landed in Marshdogg's hands, Squirtle landed in May's hands, and Crawdon landed in Mr. Sardicus' boat. Just as everyone was celebrating, though, with the exception of Team Rocket, of course, the mech fell straight into the water, which caused it to explode, which in turn sent Team Rocket blasting off. But the force of the explosion had caused a huge wave, which washed everyone, with the exception of Sardicus, ashore, because the explosion sent them that far. Even Crawdon had landed ashore. And just then, as Tiffany got up, she and Gallia saw that Mr. Sardicus was drowning next to the remains of Team Rocket's mech. And we then see this from Mr. Sardicus' perspective, as he started to sink into the lake, unable to swim, cursing himself that his situation was just like when he was a kid, and he remembered this, but also knew that no miracles would save him this time. He would truly die. But just then, it was revealed that Gallia had actually went to go save Mr. Sardicus and had made it. But Mr. Sardicus didn't notice Gallia. First, he noticed a mysterious shadow with glowing red eyes emerge from the darkness of the lake. And soon enough, Sardicus was surrounded. One side was Gallia, and the other side was actually the lake's rumored Dragonair, which was the lake's namesake. And this Dragonair was actually friends with Gallia. She didn't officially own it or anything, but they were pretty close. Then, the Dragonair and Gallia start bringing Mr. Sardicus up to shore, as Mr. Sardicus realizes that Dragonair was the same Pokemon that saved him from his childhood drowning, and we see a flashback of this. As Mr. Sardicus looked down to see Gallia as well, though, he actually started to remember more of what happened when he was a boy, and realized that he had just blacked out what had happened somehow, likely due to him almost dying. Because even if he was saved, it was still a traumatic moment. But anyways, what truly happened was that both Dragonair and Gallia had saved him before. Well, he didn't know that it was Gallia, since, Gallia was super old now, but he started to wonder if maybe they were the same person, and came to the conclusion that they must have been. But before Sardicus could actually confirm this with Gallia, and ask her if she was the same girl from when he was a child, he started to pass out and choke from the lack of air, just when he actually saw that they had arrived at the surface. Gallia and Dragonair had successfully saved him, but he passed out right as they arrived at the surface. Action, the Gang, and Tiffany were very shocked to see Gallia with the Dragonair, as well as both of them having rescued Sardicus. But Gallia and Dragonair reach the shore and put Sardicus down on the shore, and eventually Sardicus awakens, finding Dragonair and Gallia watching over him. Mr. Sardicus was confused as to why Gallia would save him, despite all the bad things that he's done, and him threatening to take the lake and all that, but Gallia just smiles and starts to walk away, as she explains that she loves the lake. So she couldn't dare have someone die under her watch in the lake, because then that would taint the lake for her. Mr. Sardicus, hearing how much Gallia loved the lake, realized that it was rude of him to try and take a literal lake for himself, and he decided to try and atone for his bad behavior by thanking Dragonair for all its help, along with Gallia. Gallia and Dragonair both say nothing, though, as Ash and the Gang, Sardicus, Gallia, and Tiffany watch Dragonair disappear into the depths of the lake once again. Ash then remembered that he and Sardicus were battling before Team Rocket interrupted, and he asked Sardicus if he wanted to finish the battle, but Sardicus refuses, saying that after everything, he finally understood, and declared that he didn't want the lake. He found something more important to him, much more important, Dragonair, saying that, for one, if he took away the freedom of the lake and tried to turn it into a spa for his own profit, for one, that would be rude, and two, it would be rude to the Dragonair that had saved his life many times, as it would displace Dragonair from his habitat, much like how he had displaced the other Pokemon as well. But now that he realized Dragonair had saved him, he now knew that Pokemon deserved to have peaceful habitats without the risk of being injured or scared away by construction in natural habitats. And with that, Sardicus, much to Ash and the Gang's surprise, officially shelved his spa plans. Gallia, and especially Tiffany, were relieved by this news, when suddenly, Ash and the Gang, Tiffany, Gallia, and Sardicus could hear Dragonair's cry echo throughout the surrounding area. And this cry does two things. One, it purifies the water, turning it into a very, very, very good blue, regular color. And also, it causes all the water Pokemon to return to the lake. Yeah, that's right. All the ones that had vanished had actually just went away a bit far. They'd gone to some nearby bushes, or they tried to escape to a different body of water, but now that the lake was purified, they had returned. And the episode ends with Ash and the Gang looking on in wonder at the newfound life that the lake had been given, with Tiffany and Gallia especially glad to see the lake at its best once again. And also, they were even intrigued seeing a connecting river that some of the water Pokemon were coming from, believing that maybe there was a bit more to this lake than they even realized in the first place. Gallia was so happy that she had to sit in a chair